Is betting on ourselves the safest route?
Being meek does not mean you're weak. So there's strength in silence. Sometimes there's strength in knowing when to say something and when not to say something. There's strength in being that person, like to know what battles to fight and which ones to walk away from.
And so it takes that level of trust in yourself to make that decision. And that's what I'm hearing reflected in what you've shared. And how did you know that this was a chapter that you needed to end?
Taking guidance from God, the Holy Spirit, but then also believing in myself. I know that whatever I do, whatever I put my mind to, I'm going to make it happen.
Hi there. Welcome to Unspeakable Leadership, a space that transcends time, borders, and barriers to reclaim our stories as women of color, leading in organizations, communities, and in our own lives. I'm your host, Roheen Bajra. With a 20-year career trajectory of leadership, an aspiring storyteller, mom of a son and a fur baby, first-generation immigrant, an uninvited guest in Canada, I want to thank you for being on this journey with me. Let us grow together in conversation. Hi there. I am so excited to have a conversation with our next guest. Now, before we jump right into it, and believe me, we have tons to talk about, I want to tell you a little bit about who she is. Valincia Bennett. Valencia is the founder of Savvy Method, where she helps coaches scale to 10K plus months. Yeah, you heard it, 10K a month. And part of that is to build multiple income streams without overcomplicating the process. Now, before she stepped into her full-time entrepreneurship, Valencia spent over a decade as a business director in the healthcare sector, while simultaneously, as I think most Black women often do, running 3 side businesses, investing in real estate and the stock market. And as if that wasn't enough, she also was laying the foundation for financial freedom, something that I know Valencia speaks a lot about and will have more to share in our time together. Now, when the time was right, she walked away from corporate life, backed by a multi-7-figure portfolio of businesses, investments, and savings. Now, she's helping coaches do just the same, scaling their businesses with simple systems that create lasting impact and income. Originally from New Orleans, Valencia now calls Dallas-Fort Worth home. Valencia, thank you so much for being here with us on Unspeakable Leadership. Welcome.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Is it bad that I'm like getting teary-eyed from hearing my own bio?
No, that
I was like,
right.
oh, I can't believe I did all of this. It's so cool when
Absolutely.
you really take time to reflect and
Yeah.
just think about how far you've come.
Oh,
How far you've come from
um,
humble beginnings to where you are now, right? Oh my
oh,
goodness.
absolutely. And I want to pick up on something that you just shared there, like from humble beginnings to
Mhm.
where you are now. Like that takes enormous amount of courage and also risk taking, which I know you are
Yes.
the queen of risk, but also with safety and simplicity in mind. So I'm so excited for the conversation we're going to have today.
Me too. Me too. I know we're twinning today. We
we
got the same hairstyle, the glasses. I
totally
feel like
are.
we do this all the time.
We
Every time we get on the call, we always have like the same color on,
Do you
the same
remember?
hairstyle. It's
Yeah,
I told you we're soul sisters. It is what it is.
we absolutely are. Like I want to actually let those who are listening and watching us know our first time that we connected. It was at a conference. I remember it was at the Level
Mhm.
Up Summit that is held through Pretty Damn Ambitious. And after that, we were going to then connect on a one-on-one. And both of us, I remember, we were wearing green. And we
Yep.
both popped
Great.
up on the screen. And And our hair was tightly in a bun. Both
Yep.
were green. And so we just had to match today as well.
I know. And we don't plan this.
We
It's never
don't.
planned. It just show up and we're looking the same. It's always funny.
I love it. I love it. Well, it truly is a pleasure to be in company and in conversation with you. And I know that part of that energy and that synergy is also what allows you and I to flow. And so
Yep.
let's get started. I often,
Yes, let's go.
yes, I often ask guests to describe their leadership journey just as a way of us getting to know who you are. And so I'll start off with that. What has been your leadership journey?
I think the first thing that people instantly think about when you talk about leadership journey is when they make it into their career,
Mm.
right? But to be honest, I've been a leader since I was maybe 2 years old. Okay. I was bossing people around, telling them what they need to do. Everybody was like, "You're a 2-year-old turning 30." But it was because I always had like this young wisdom, right? This
Mm.
old soul, this old spirit about myself. And I was the kid, all the kids were outside playing, and I was inside with the teachers grading papers.
Mm.
So it really started there, me being young and just realizing I just love structure and discipline. And I
Mhm.
wanted to be able to just lead others and be a guide for others. And also be like this amazing role model for others to show them that, hey, you don't have to be a bad kid. Like you can be a good kid, you know, or you can, make better decisions
Mm.
than getting upset and fighting with your friends.
Mm.
So it really started there. And
Yeah.
just throughout my life, like I've always been that person that people come to. I'm always the one giving advice, the guidance, the counseling, all of those things. And it just continued to flow with me throughout my life.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of my leadership journey. So that was like the informal piece of the
Mm.
leadership journey. And then I got into the more formal side where I just graduated college.
Mm.
And this is a very interesting story. I just graduated college and I was working as like a student worker, but I was also a lending department assistant.
Wow.
And at the time they had this loan officer position that was
Mm.
becoming available.
Right.
And they had someone else there who really wanted it, and she's been there for years. But my supervisor, she was like, "Valencia, you should apply for this job."
Mm.
And to be honest, I had no interest in becoming a loan officer, but she just wanted me to do it because I was just doing such a great job. And that's when workplace bullying started to happen.
Oh,
And
I'm
the
so
other
sorry.
people who thought I was going to come and take their position,
Mm.
they just started to be just very ugly to me.
Mm.
And you know what? In that time, God has always been on my side. He's always been my guide. And it was just something I walk in one day, I was like, I just can't take this anymore.
Mm.
Like, I've just graduated from college. There has to be something better. And so I
Mhm.
talked to my supervisor, and at the time, she was like, you should leave today. Like,
Wow.
not in a upset way, but like in a supportive way, because she saw what was happening and there was nothing she could do about it.
Mhm.
And so that day, literally, I packed my bags, well, my things,
Mhm.
and I went and gave my notice to the HR person.
Mhm.
And I said, today is my last day. No lie.
Oh no.
I was walking down the stairs to
Uh-huh.
go to my car and my phone rang.
What?
And I picked up my phone and I said, hi, this is Valencia. And I was like, hi, Valencia, this is so and so at this hospital.
Right.
We would love to offer you a full time position.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. Do I have to come in and interview for this job? Do I
Mhm.
have to? She's like, nope. Your supervisor told us about you. We want to hire you on the spot. So even before I made it to my car,
Mhm.
I had another job. And that was the start of my real leadership journey, leadership career in healthcare. And I was in healthcare for 10 plus years as a business director. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, like I had
It,
goosebumps just hearing
oh
that.
my goodness. I didn't, and you know what? That story really didn't come back to me until probably a few weeks ago.
Oh, interesting.
And it was when you and I first started talking
Mhm.
about the podcast, and
Mhm.
that story came back to me, and I was like, I have to share this
Yes.
because it was the leap of faith
Mhm.
and the belief in myself,
Yeah.
knowing that something better was coming. And whew, God worked fast that day because
Oh, I was gonna
I
say.
didn't even make it to the car. I didn't even make it to the car. And I had another job, and I literally started I don't even know what day of the week that was, but I probably started, like, 2 days later.
Oh my gosh.
It was it was insane, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that moment was such a defining moment for me. It made me realize that there's gonna be powers that are working against you,
Mhm.
that are trying to push you,
Yeah.
and sometimes those powers are doing it to make you uncomfortable, to make you move
Yes.
in faith.
Yes.
And in that day, young Valencia moved in faith,
Whew.
and it paid off in a big way.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Valencia. Like I one of the things that I've always appreciated about you is your conviction. You know, your the strength in grounding yourself in who you are, what you know, what you can contribute. And to hear the story that you just shared with us, like I can see where that seed was planted way early on, you know, when you were that 2, 3 year old bossy Valencia, as you like to
Mhm.
call yourself, all the way to that young, recently graduated woman who made a choice to walk away from like toxic workplaces
Yeah.
and bullies. Like that is phenomenal, and I have been privileged to witness your conviction be amplified in different spaces over and over again, and a source of role modeling for many who are still on their journey of
Mhm.
discovering themselves. And so thank you for sharing such a powerful story that, yeah, I think I'm still like fanning myself as I think of walking down the stairs and then your phone.
I'm telling
Oh my gosh,
you, that
that
I
is,
know, that story in itself, I don't know, you just reflect back on, and I tell people all the time, just reflect back on your life
yeah,
and see how things have always worked out.
absolutely, absolutely,
Things have always worked out.
yeah,
And you never stay in that bad spot for
yeah,
a long time.
no,
Like, there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah, and you know, in thinking about the theme of the season, much of what you've just shared is part of the foundation to really exploring the theme of her next
Mm.
act. It is nerve wracking, scary,
Oh,
frightening
absolutely.
to be able to not only just jump from one stepping stone to another, but to also walk away from something that feels right, good, okay, comfortable. And so I'm curious, you know, thinking about that choice of the loan officer, but then multiple times, like because you spent 10 years as a business director in healthcare, and you walked away from corporate life. How, like, one, how did you make that decision to walk away?
Mm.
And how did you know that this was a chapter that you needed to end?
Yeah. Oh, let me see. It's it's multiple things. That's why I'm pausing because it's multiple things, and there's more, plenty, like ton more stories I can tell.
Mhm.
But ultimately, really, what made me make the decision was, I feel like this was a revelation moment for a lot of people, and it was during COVID.
Yeah.
I was working from home for the first time in my life,
Mhm.
and it was just so nice to be at home, working, having some flexibility
Yeah.
because honestly, I was working 12, 13, 14, 16-hour days,
Yeah.
you name it.
Yeah.
I was working. And because of that, I didn't really have time to do other things.
Mhm.
And I finally got a taste of what life could be.
Mhm.
Right. And I was like, hey, I've been missing out on something here. I've been missing out. And my husband, he's always been super big in having flexible work schedules. Like I'm working all day at the desk and he's just walking by. I'm like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Home Depot. I'm like, dude, it's the middle of the day. He's like, you could go too if you want to. I'm like, no, I have a call. So it was just like, it was me realizing the limitations that I had on my life in that
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
And no lie, I was sitting at my desk. Look, another moment. I was sitting at my desk and a small, still voice came to me
Mhm.
and said, December 31st, 2020 is your last day. I mean, it was that direct. Like
Yeah.
that voice gave me a date.
Oh my gosh.
And when it said December 31st, 2020, I was like, okay. Like that's the thing. I didn't question it. I didn't think differently. I didn't do any, like, I was like, okay, well, it's time for me to go. I was like, okay. And so literally that same day I told my husband, I was like, hey, just want you to know
Mhm.
I'm leaving my job December 31st. And at first he was kind of like, what? But
Mhm.
not in a non-supportive way, in a more supportive way, because he knows how I am. I have to be busy, I have to be productive, I have to be doing something.
Mhm.
He was like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" I'm like, I said, "We have businesses, I can spend more time running those.
Yeah.
We have like, we're fine, like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll find something to do." And he was like, "Okay." So, that was probably around June of that year. Fast forward to October, my husband's now getting antsy. "You can leave now if you want." I'm like, no, nope, nope, nope. The voice told me December 31st, so I'm gonna keep it going.
Mhm.
And so I gave my notice, and that was the last time I was in corporate. Now, I did stay for a few months
Mhm.
after just to help transition and onboard the new director. But outside of that, I left and I haven't turned back. So it was really, once again, conviction, right? Taking guidance from God, the Holy Spirit, but then also believing in myself.
Yes.
I know that whatever I do, whatever I put my mind to,
Mm.
I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I'm going to make it happen. So it's just having that belief in myself for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hi. I just had to jump in and share with you, in case you didn't know, I love speaking. So if you're looking for a speaker at your next event, or if you know an organization who is, let's talk. And that, from what you're sharing, is the core of many decisions to move from one chapter to the next. I think in life, I know certainly for me, it's also been that journey of anything that comes my way, I know I have the capacity to
Yeah.
adapt to it. I know I have the ability to flow, and I have all the resources within. And for the resources that I don't have, I will seek them. And so it
Yep.
takes that level of trust in yourself to make that decision. And that's what I'm hearing reflected in what you've shared. You know what's really interesting about what you're sharing, Valencia, is you had people who, once kind of verbalized what you were going to do into existence,
Mhm.
people became your co-conspirators.
Oh, yeah.
I think of the sponsorship that your supervisor was involved in giving the
Mhm.
call, and then that call being the call that you received. I think of your husband being supportive. I think of your faith. I think of so many of the gifts of support that surrounded you, including yourself. Was there anything else that was unexpected that gave you that support and inspiration to say, I'm ready? I'm ready for my next act.
Hmm. And you saying that just made me like, I didn't even put it into that context, but it's so true. Like every tough decision I made, I always had support.
Mhm.
It was never a person saying, "Oh, no, I don't think you should do that," or, "Oh, no, no, no." That like everyone believed in me
Mhm.
so much to
Yeah.
the point where they didn't question it.
Right.
I remember calling my mom. You grow up in a household. My mom was a single mother.
Hmm.
She worked multiple jobs. And so for me to call my mom, instantly you would think, I'm like, Mama, I'm leaving.
Right.
I'm done with corporate. Most people would think her mother would be like, no, you can't do that. She was like, oh, okay, great. Like in a good way, like
Yeah.
you're gonna do amazing. Then she started telling everybody about my businesses and like she became my cheerleader. Then I told my dad,
Hmm.
I'm like, hey, I'm leaving.
Right.
He was like, I'm so proud of you. Like everybody just really always just hugs every decision I make.
Mm.
And because they know me,
Yeah.
they know that I'm going to see it through. They know that I've thought about it logically. And they know that if I'm doing something, it's for a good darn reason
Hmm.
while I'm doing it. Because there had to be some things that were just too much to handle and out of my control. And they know like Valencia's going to make the best decision for her.
Hmm.
And so all of that played a big part in knowing my next act. And it was even interesting because during the time I was starting Savvy Method.
Hmm.
And for years, 4 years, I was begging my friend to get in business with me. And she was like, no, I'm not ready right now, Valencia. I'm not ready. And I was like, "Ah, okay. So the small still voice talks to me,
Hmm.
tells me my date. I have a conversation with her a week later, didn't tell her about me leaving. I
Right.
don't think I did. And I just said, "Hey, I think I'm about to start this business finally. Would you be interested?" She said, "Yeah, I'm finally ready."
Oh.
So for years, and I'm like, and I needed that comfort.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't realize, like she provided that comfort for me because I felt like I had someone to go do this thing with. Now we're not in business still together now, but we just both learned so much from that
Mhm.
experience. And she helped me get the confidence in myself to go start this business alone. Because all the other businesses I had were with my husband, and we
Right.
still have those businesses to this day. But I wanted something that was like very like true to me and what
Mm.
I love to do. Because my husband, he's like, you can go coach people. I'm not coaching people.
He's like, you have that one.
You can have that one. And so when I was mentioning that to him, he's like, "Yeah,
That's
that's
not
not
my
my
vibe.
thing. That's not me." So I was like, "Well, I can find somebody else to do it with me."
Yeah.
And that's when my friend came along. But it was just interesting how everything aligned.
Hmm.
And to this day, I reflect back and think about the just kind of the different stages I went through
Hmm.
in the business. I mean, and I'm still going through stages,
Yeah.
but it's just that constant support and that constant validation that I do get.
Yeah.
But it's because I've surrounded myself with the right people, the people I know who will support me, who will help me and guide me,
Mm.
and not those that will tear me down or tell me what I shouldn't do.
Yeah.
So,
And that's huge. That's huge. Like
mhm,
you've alchemized the right ingredients for your success, right? And
mhm,
that's what I'm really um, hearing in what you've shared, and that in itself is so crucial. I believe in anyone's journey, because as you shared, you came from a single mother household, and
mhm,
I came from a background that was very much rooted in poverty. And so, I can imagine limiting beliefs,
yeah,
scarcity mindsets, like all of these things can play a role in how big of a risk do we take, and is betting on ourselves the safest route.
mhm,
And what you are showcasing and highlighting for us is that that energy of staying in limiting beliefs and in cycles that don't serve you, you have to break. And how you break it is by who you surround yourself with. What messages do you absorb and take in? And how do you then apply that in not only those big decisions, but also those day to day decisions? Because entrepreneurship can be a lonely place. It can be a
that's
place where you're doing everything on your own. And you've highlighted that it doesn't have to be that way.
nope,
But to choose wisely as to who is part of that journey, because it's about getting the right equation. Oh, Valencia, thank you. You know, I really was hoping part of our conversations, and I think you have absolutely been so generous and kind in going deeper with how her next act becomes not just about the actual act itself, but it's about the depth and the inner work that it takes
Mhm.
to transform some of those decisions from this is just how it is, I just have to stay here, to what if life could be bigger than what I had imagined. So I just want to honor that, and I think I'll perhaps just end our time with a bit of a question that I've been asking everyone, and that is, we have a range of listeners, and we've had this beautiful range of people who are not only listening or watching from day one, but some who have been growing with us with each of the seasons theme, and many of them are women of color. And so I think about how they're listening based on where they're at right now. Some might be in their leadership career, others might just be starting. So my question to you is, looking back, now that you've had a chance to reflect on everything, what would you tell someone standing at their threshold of their next act?
That's such a great question. And I would honestly say in this moment, like if I had to reflect and think back to past Valencia,
Mm-hmm.
there's a few things.
Okay.
So the first thing I think about comes around like emotional intelligence.
Mm.
And I think about, and it's even biblical, but it's, being meek does not mean you're weak.
Yeah.
So there's strength in silence. Sometimes there's strength in knowing when to say something and when not to say something. There's strength in being that person, like to know what battles to fight and which ones to walk away from.
Mm.
So for me, I always thought being meek in a sense during my career was a weakness, but I realized it allowed me to excel and grow as fast as I did in my career because I was that person. I had the emotional intelligence. I stayed away from the office drama.
Mm-hmm.
I was the uplifter even when everybody else was trying to tear people down.
Mm.
And so being that space of light for people in the workplace is a really good person to be. Even sometimes it could be so draining,
Yeah.
but there is a reward waiting for that person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then to kind of, I don't know what you say, like mend that to the next thing would be it is okay to speak up too,
Yeah.
right? Like finding those times to speak up, knowing when it's going to make a change, when it's truly going to make an impact,
Mm.
and be okay with that. That is the one thing that I do think back to sometimes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I wish I would have said more in that situation. I wish I would have stood up, or not necessarily in a confrontational way, but just in a way where people really understood how I felt about certain things.
Yeah.
But there were moments where I just like brushed it under the rug, just kept doing my thing and was like, I'm gonna be out of here one day anyway. But,
How many times
but
has that thought
I
gone through our
know,
head?
right. I'm gonna be out of here anyway. I don't care. And there was moments and sometimes you do work in hostile workplaces. And I remember I had this amazing group of women that I worked with, and they would come and they would gripe and they would be like, oh my goodness. And I would honestly say it's not them, it's us.
Oof.
And they would be like, what do you mean? Like, no, Valencia, it's them. I'm like, no, it's not them, it's us. And I had to break it down for them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, because we allow it.
Mm.
We allow this behavior. We allow them to treat us this way. And there's going to be a point in time where when you're on that line, like on that cusp of making that decision, you're going to have to make that decision knowing that you are now choosing you
Mm.
and you're kind of getting away from that scenario. It's not them, it's us,
Mm,
and you're finally taking a stance. So to me, her next act is moving into your next bigger calling,
yeah,
but doing it at the right time.
yeah.
Don't do it at the time where you feel like it's right. Do it at the
Mm,
time when he tells you it's right, and then everything will fall into place.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Like I just have to sit in that moment and what you
Yes.
just shared because yeah, it's so powerful. What you just offered us as a gift is powerful. So thank you, Valencia.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. I know how busy your schedule is, and it takes time for us to make time. And so please know the investment of your energy during our time together is something that I appreciate, and I know those who are listening and watching will feel the same way. As we end our time together, I offer two final quick questions that I ask every guest, and one that you are gonna laugh at, and the other is one that will be a little bit more serious. So I'll start off with the laughable one, and that is, I know you are the queen of gifts. As somebody who has been a recipient of multiple gifts that you have sent me to my home, some that have been surprises and others that I have won at the many events and gatherings you have created. So, just thinking about reciprocity, what has been one of the most incredible gifts you have received?
Oh my goodness. That's tough. I am not a gift person. Like the five love languages,
Yes.
I am not a gift person. Gifts are like the last thing I care about. I'm not materialistic at all.
Mhm.
Honestly, the greatest gift is people's gift of time, like
Mhm.
quality time.
Yeah.
So whenever someone says, "Hey, I would love to treat you to dinner," or "Hey, I would love to take you to lunch," or "Hey, let's go do this," like that makes me so excited. I
Yeah.
get giddy when people just want to spend time
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
So those are the best gifts, I would say, is whenever I can spend time with close friends, loved ones,
Mhm.
clients, whoever. Like those are always the things that make me happy.
Oh, yes. I'm with you on that one. Although I will say my love language is gifts. So you were totally like you were loving up on me in all the good ways
Yes, yes.
possible. So
Sending gifts.
totally.
Sending gifts.
No, thank you. And thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that. And my hope is one day I will gift you with a
Yeah.
surprise to come to Dallas Fort Worth, take you out on that dinner that we've been always
Yes.
wanting to plan, and to just shower you with so much gratitude because you've played a pivotal role in my life and in what I have been defining as my acts, and I've been privileged to witness you in your acts and chapters too. My last
Yes.
question is because I know I'm always in company with incredible guests, and you are no different, who are cooking up always brand new things, brand new offerings. And so, thinking about those who are listening, is there a call to action or something that you'd love them to take you up on?
Yes. So I absolutely would love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my space and place in this online world.
Yes.
So just being able to connect with me, let me know you heard me on this podcast. And if for some reason you are interested in any of my services that I offer, I would absolutely love to have a conversation. And for me, I do work with coaches. I help them scale their businesses to 10K plus, along with adding additional income streams using simple systems and strategies. My program is called Simply Diversified because I truly believe that we all should have options
Yes.
and it shouldn't be overwhelming. Like Rohim mentioned earlier, it shouldn't be overcomplicated. There's ways that you can grow and scale your coaching business, but also add additional income streams like stock market and commercial real estate and all of those fun things that I've done over and over again. And I'm so excited that I get to teach others how to do the same.
Oh, yes, 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 Valencia. Thank you. Please. And for those who are listening and watching, please take up Valencia on her offer at the very least to connect and definitely to be able to see all that she offers and her services. Because if there's one thing that I wanted to share and highlight, Valencia, you don't just, walk the walk and, talk the talk. You also integrate it into your life. One of the
Yeah.
things I remember us connecting on was you had shared with me when we were trying to find time to schedule to get to know each other
Mhm.
many years ago. You had said on Fridays are my me days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? You have a me day? Like
Yep.
you
Free
have a
flow Friday.
no Friday.
It is free flow Friday.
I remember sitting here thinking, I want a me day. Like, I want a day
Mhm.
that's dedicated to just whatever I want to do on that day. And so for those who might have heard in your bio and in what you always are speaking truth to power on, which is financial freedom,
Yep.
that you integrate that into your life. You live financial freedom. So
Yes.
I love that you are in that place in your life and you're teaching others how to create that for themselves as well. Valencia,
Absolutely.
you are incredible. Thank
Oh,
you for
thank
being here
you.
with us today.
Thank you for having me. This has been amazing, and I always love speaking with you. It's
Oh,
always a great time.
me too. Take care. I've had time to reflect on my conversation with Valencia, and I kept thinking it is so important for us to listen to our intuition. Whether it shows up as that loud voice, a soft whisper, numbers, signs, or other forms. I hope that that serves you in thinking about your next act. At the same time, I know that every episode is different for everyone in what they receive and what resonates. So I'd love to hear from you. Pop over to my YouTube channel or send me a message on LinkedIn or on Instagram. I would truly appreciate hearing from you. Thank you.